December 22nd, 1849, St. Petersburg. Snow falling on an empty square. A 28-year-old man stands with his hands bound, a white hood being pulled over his head, waiting to be shot. His name is Fyodor Dostoevsky. His crime? Attending a literary discussing group, reading a banned letter aloud, saying the wrong words in the wrong room. He was sixth in line. He watched the first 3 men led to the posts and tied. He watched the rifles rise. He heard the order given. 1 minute left to live. And in that minute, hands bound, standing in the December cold, he looked up. Across the square, a cathedral dome was catching the morning light, gold against grey sky, a single burning point of light in all that cold and darkness. He couldn't look away. Later he would write that those rays of light felt like his new nature, that in 3 minutes he would somehow merge with them. Then a drum roll, a horseman shouting, the rifles lowered. A messenger had arrived. The execution was fake, staged from the beginning by the Tsar as a calculated act of psychological torture. Dostoevsky was taken back to his cell. That same night, shaking, he wrote to his brother, "Life is a gift. Life is happiness. Each minute could be an eternity of bliss. I am being reborn in another form." And then, because the Tsar's mercy was the cruelest kind, he was sent to Siberia. 4 years of hard labor at a prison camp in Omsk, chains on his legs, sleeping on wooden boards, a man of books and ideas. Now breaking rocks in -40 degrees, surrounded by murderers and thieves. He was allowed one book for 4 years. He chose the New Testament. Researchers later found 1,413 marks across 527 pages, fingernail indentations, page folds, small notions pressed into paper already coming apart. He wasn't reading for comfort. He was reading the way a drowning man reads a map, searching for something he couldn't name, but couldn't stop looking for. And then the seizures started. Epilepsy, a disease he would carry for the rest of his life. But what happened in Dostoevsky's seizures was so unusual that modern neurology eventually named the condition after him. Dostoevsky's epilepsy with ecstatic aura. In the seconds before each seizure, before the fall, before the convulsion, before the days of broken memory, he experienced this. I feel full harmony in myself and in the whole world, and the feeling is so strong and sweet that for a few seconds of such bliss, one could give up 10 years of life, perhaps all of life. I felt that heaven descended to earth and swallowed me. I really attained God. Then the seizure, then the floor, then nothing for 2 or 3 days, ice shackles and eternal light, in the same body, at the same time. In the prison barracks at Omsk, something else began to shift. Dostoevsky had spent his entire life among writers, thinkers, educated people who dealt in abstractions. In Siberia, he was surrounded by men who had committed acts of genuine violence, men who had never read a book. At first, he was repelled, but he began to watch, really watch, and he began to see something that broke every moral category he had ever held. The murderer who wept at a child's death, the man who had done unspeakable things who nonetheless possessed a tenderness that couldn't be explained away. He wrote later, "Among all of them, I have not found a man who was completely evil." This wasn't comforting, it was disorienting. If the worst man he had ever encountered still carried something inviolable inside them, something that chains and cold and years of dehumanization hadn't managed to erase, then what was that thing? He spent the rest of his life trying to name it. In his novels he called it conscience, unconditional love, faith that survives doubt. But the seed of all of it was planted not in St. Petersburg study, in a frozen prison, watching men he had been taught to despise. The light didn't come from outside, it was already there. He just had to stop looking away. When Dostoevsky returned, he put a question into the mouth of Prince Myshkin, the character who carried most of his own experience. Someone asks about a man sentenced to death and reprieved at the last moment, a man given his life back who understood completely, physically, that each minute could be an eternity. What did he do with it? He didn't live that way at all and lost many, many minutes. That man was Dostoevsky. He went broke gambling. He made terrible decisions. He was not a man who had solved the problem of being alive. He was a man who kept losing the minutes and kept having to find his way back. The light he found in Siberia was not a permanent possession. It was something he had to keep finding. In the epileptic aura, in the worn pages of the New Testament, in the writing itself. This is what should matter to us, not the triumphant arc. Suffering produces wisdom. Wisdom produces great art. The honest version, even after everything, he still lost the minutes. He still drifted. He still had to return, which means the returning is the whole practice, not arriving, returning. The light isn't waiting for the darkness to clear. It was inside the darkness all along, inside the chains and the frozen barracks, and the 1413 marks pressed into a worn New Testament by a man who had no other way to hold on. We don't need Siberia to find it, but we do need to stop spending the minute waiting for a better one. Dostoevsky died in 1881, 59 years old. People wept in streets for a man broken by illness his entire adult life, who had written under crushing debt and desperate circumstances, and who had kept insisting on this one thing, that the light was already there, not after a darkness, in it. He knew this because on December 22nd, 1849, with 1 minute left to live, he looked up, and a cathedral dome was catching the morning light. Gold against grey sky, it was enough. It had always been enough. We just forgot to look up.